This case occurred on December 17, 1941 on the Eastern Front, when in an air battle over Lake Ladoga, a pilot fought against 6 enemy fighters, managed to protect the transport planes he was convoying, and survived. For this fight the pilot was presented to the title of hero. And he told about this case himself when he recovered from his wounds. The pilot's name was Pilyatov Peter Andreevich, and here is his story. The day of December 17, 1941 I remembered especially, and for all my life. Then I entered the battle against 6 enemy fighters. For 13 minutes of the battle I was able to shoot down 2 of them, but at the same time I was shot down and received 21 wounds. I survived myself, destroyed 2 enemy planes, and most importantly saved people by diverting enemy planes to myself. Then I had one advantage, because I was flying on an American airplane unknown to the Germans. And if I had attacked the leading plane first, shot it down, thus upsetting their control, I would have been able to do more, because they would have scattered in different directions and I would have hit them one by one. But their last airplane was shot down first, and all the others under the command of the leading one turned around, and the fight was hard for me. On December 17th, a group of us went up from the airfield to escort Douglas transport planes, but the other fighters did not follow me. They were recalled by radio to meet the Germans who were bombing Leningrad from the south. I alone had to convoy 9 Douglas, with 30 passengers in each. I knew very well and saw at the airfield that one of the Douglas was full of children, 35 children. And in the battle the thought of these children did not leave me. I was flying high above the Douglases, in the clouds. And only we began to cross Lake Ladoga, I see how from the north 6 Messerschmitts rushed to my charges. But Douglases were sailing calmly and in the cloudy mess did not even notice the danger. I had no time to think, I rushed to the enemy. I started shooting at them with all my large caliber machine guns. I shot one down right away. He fell on the ice of the lake, broke it, and went underwater. Some debris was left on the ice. The Germans didn't know how many fighters were attacking them, so they distracted themselves from the Douglases and rushed up into the clouds. I did not give them a chance to recollect. It was important to me that the Douglases had time to pass the lake. The Germans had lost me, and I wanted them to see me again sooner. Full throttle, catching up. When I caught up, I noticed that the Douglases were already floating above the forest, and became unrecognizable. That's when the Heinkels saw me. Immediately a couple of them tried to tail me. I instantly give a U-turn and go to meet them head-on. The Germans' nerves couldn't stand it. Both Messers soared up, followed by 3 more of them. I went into a turn and shelled the whole trio from the side. Then the other fighters also began to turn. They took me in a ring, circled with me. One separates, wants to tail me. He wants to, but he doesn't have time. I shoot him with a machine gun on the turn. He catches fire and goes down with black smoke. I have no time to follow him, but I try to pull the remaining 4 closer to the shore of the lake. Their anti-aircraft guns will meet them in the best way. That's how I go in circles, turns, fighting, but there are still 4 of them, and my engine starts to give sharp interruptions. The fuel supply thrust is broken. Speed drops, altitude too. The Germans are circling over me, but I still do not put their tail, maneuvering the most cunning ways and shoot back. The height above the lake is already 5 meters. Generally speaking, I had a coffin ahead of me, but in those minutes I did not think about it, but thought about how to maneuver. I had already hit the snow twice. Just make a U-turn as the Germans pass by, continuing to shoot at me, and in the tail I still have no way to go to them. My engine stops completely and I land on the ice. I should have saved myself now, but I had a plan to hold them off longer, so that they would not be able to catch up with the transports. I'm sitting, not opening the cockpit, watching. Now, of course, they come in from the tail, dive, shoot at me. But I am also shooting the last cartridges at them, and at times I look with pleasure at that fighter plane burning down near the shore. My airplane as a fixed point is now a direct target for bullets and shells. That's when I get hit, from the side, by shell and bullets. When I was wounded, I lifted the cockpit hood with the emergency hook, grabbed my bag with my map and documents, jumped out and climbed under the engine, camouflaged myself in the snow and kept my pistol ready. And the Germans dive-bombed until my plane was set on fire. Thinking I was burned out, they finally left. And I, it should be said before that I caught the moment when they were not close, walked on the snow 200 meters, but from the pain in my back I fell down, felt nauseous, but still managed to cover myself with snow so that they, having flown up, did not see me. And then it was simple. School children from the shore ran up to me, then an old fisherman drove up and put me on a sledge. And the hospital found 21 holes in my back, for splinters were taken out, and a bullet from my arm. That's how I remember this 17th day. The pilot told about all this with undisguised pride, but so intimately and simply, with such a sly glint in his eyes. On that day, December 17th, the journalist of the newspaper, who recorded this story, 3 closest people flew from Leningrad, father, mother and brother. They flew safely. And pilot Pilyatov was protecting them. Such a coincidence. When the journalist told about it to the pilot, said that he owed him till the end of his days, the pilot was embarrassed, not knowing what to answer. Like other fighter pilots, escorting transport planes almost every day, he saved hundreds, or rather thousands of Leningraders from death. And that on the snow of Ladoga remained his blood, given by him for the lives of strangers, but close to him people. The title of Hero of the Soviet Union, to which Pilyatov was presented, he can wear with justly deserved pride. The pilot flew the American fighter Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, which was supplied to the Soviet Union under Lend-Lease. The first airplanes Pilyatov transported himself from Arkhangelsk to the airfield near Leningrad. He spoke very well of them and said what good instruments these airplanes had, convenient for blind flight. Back in 1942, all those who knew Pilyatov personally spoke about him with a noticeable enthusiasm in their voices. He was an excellent pilot, the pride of the fighter regiment. He liked to fly alone, and he succeeded in everything. Pilyatov is a wonderful man, very calm, you want to talk to him and just fall in love with him. During the flight he is so calm, he sits like at home on a chair, relaxed, nonchalant. You can see another pilot taking off tensely, his face pressed against the glass. But Pilyatov is strict. And when you tell him something about victories, he becomes cheerful, you can't tear him away from the radio, he catches it, waiting for details. Peter Pilyatov finished the war with the rank of Colonel of the USSR Air Force. In 1955 he retired in the reserve. Lived and worked in Leningrad. Died on March 24, 1960.